right, let's go ahead and go into the NFC. And let me pull this up here. Okay, so let's go ahead. So the NFC here, we've got the NFC East. I'm like pre-programmed to say the NFC least, like I can't say it anymore. But it just like wants to come out.
Yes.
So talk to me about your favorite quarterback in the NFC, Chase.
Are you talking about Rain Dakota Prescott?
Yes, I am.
I have this one we're gonna probably argue about. I have them as Super Bowl.
No way in hell, bro. No way. Like you can't. There's no amount of convincing based on what we've seen. Dak Prescott has 2 playoff wins his entire career. Just gotta accept it, bro. Just get a nice blanket, warm it up, wrap yourself in it, make a nice Chase burrito, lie your head down at night on a cool pillow, and just accept it. Just accept it that he is mid. Accept it.
That could be, but I'm looking at that full roster. I was thinking about this the other day. If you took the whole roster there, wiped the star off their helmet, and put a Patriots logo, they would be the favorite in the league, and everyone would be calling them the Super Bowl. I think it's just the fact that they are the Dallas Cowboys, right? They have the reputation now where Tony Romo gave it to them, and Dak's going to continue that of choking in the playoffs. But that roster is fighting for a Super Bowl. They've got two of the best. They've got one of the best cornerback duos in the league right now with Stephon Gilmore and Trayvon Diggs. They have Micah Parsons, who easily could have won Defensive Player of the Year last year. They just brought in someone to stop the run, which they struggled to do in Mozzie Smith. They got DeMarcus Lawrence. That's just their defense. Then you move over. They grabbed not Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks coming in there to stretch the field for CeeDee Lamb. They finally moved off of Zeke, who was a little overweight and wasn't doing what he did his rookie year. So they have Tony Pollard and Deuce Vaughn, the guy they drafted there. Then you have Dak leading the charge, and Dak's an adequate quarterback. Maybe he's not a superstar, but he's definitely adequate. Where'd you put the
playoffs?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think 100%. I agree with you on paper. They should definitely be the Super Bowl. They just have not been able to figure it out. And I don't see that changing this year. I mean, you are who you show me you are, and they show me that they're a playoff team every single year, but that's it. They're not a Super Bowl team. Even though they might, you could say, okay, this team is a Super Bowl caliber team, like on paper. I mean, I just can't. I just can't get there. But
I say, hold on. You compromise with the Jets. I'll move the Cowboys down to playoffs.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
And I'm doing that mostly because the Mike McCarthy stink that might be on that team with him taking over play calls. That does worry me just a little bit because I've already seen his play calls not win.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. I mean, playoff team for sure. I mean, I don't think there's any question at all. I mean, I still think they can honestly compete to win the division. I don't have the Eagles set off as like the clear by far favorite. Even though I think as of right now, I'm probably leaning to pick the Eagles to win the division. But it wouldn't surprise you if the Cowboys win the division. But the Cowboys just always freaking do something. Just always do something to mess it up. And so for me, it's just until they actually make the Super Bowl and get the monkey off their back. That's how I see them.
That's fair enough.
So we'll talk about the Eagles then. I did Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair.
I think it's pretty fair. They just went to the Super Bowl, right? So it's hard to kick them out of that tier, especially when they really didn't lose anybody. They just gained talent. They lost a couple players like Javon Hargrave, but they're bringing Jordan Carter, or Jalen Carter. They bring in, they bring in, Swift, to help after losing Miles Sanders. So I'm not, not the biggest guy, but basically the things, the people that they've lost, they've come in and replaced it with, adequate, or maybe, with Jalen Carter, we have to see what happens, but the expectations are high. So, losing their 2 coordinators, I think is definitely something that could hurt. But I'm just, I don't think it's enough to say that they're going to be, not contending for a Super Bowl at the end of next season.
Yeah, I agree. I think, a lot of circumstances might have went right to get him there. We've talked about it. We both are believers in the Brock Purdy. Niners would have won that game if he was healthy. But in losing, I'm not a big Nick Sirianni guy. I think a lot of his success was because of the Steve Sykin and Josh Gannon that were the coordinators. But they were like a couple plays out from winning the Super Bowl. It's not
Mhm.
just that they showed up and got laughed out there like the Jared Goff Rams did, right? They were in the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts took a humongous step, looked amazing. I
Sure.
You got to put him in the Super Bowl contender.
Sure. Yeah, that call goes the other way. Who knows?
Yeah,
Um, the Washington Commanders.
living on a prayer.
Yep. Yeah, I think I'm actually excited. I actually like Sam
So
Hall.
I'm a big Sam
I'm
Howell guy.
a big Sam Hall guy. So I think he's got the reins going in there week one. We'll see kind of what Bieniemy looks like as his own offensive coordinator, not with Andy Reid. So curious to see what that looks like. They've got some good pieces there. The defense is still pretty good, but so we'll see what happens. But I think they're definitely more than a year away. So definitely have
Yes,
to be living on a prayer.
and Riverboat Ron Rivera. Not a
I
big believer in him.
don't hate.
So
I don't like. I don't like him. I don't
no.
like him.
So
So we'll see if
but
he's on the hot seat after this year, especially with the ownership changes of the Commanders and things going on. We'll see how much they want to change. So,
and him not knowing how to get to playoffs last year.
well, I mean, it's a shocker whenever you all of a sudden throw Carson Wentz back in there after he sucked, and then you lose, and you're what like why? Yeah, that was a yeah, I just can't like that was a must-win game. He didn't even know
Hmm.
they were eliminated from playoffs. He's
Yeah,
like, wait,
yeah,
we're eliminated, like, bro, what the verdict? Like, yeah, get out
yeah.
of here. Yeah, so yeah, don't like him. I don't think he's I don't think he's up to snuff for head coach. But the New York Football Giants.
This one was hard, but I ended up putting him in playoffs.
Yep, me too. I know we talked about them as being possible candidates, like for sure of missing, making the playoffs last year and missing it this year. But when we're talking about like the fringe playoff teams, I still think there's a path for them to make the playoffs. That
Yeah,
I don't think they're a year out. They could easily miss the playoffs, but I could still see them making the playoffs. And I like what they've added. My biggest question is Saquon Barkley going to play? There's now, right, where he's saying he's fine sitting out games until he gets his deal done. Is he going to sit a whole season? I don't think Daniel Jones is talented enough, even with the new addition that they brought in, to be successful without the help of Saquon. So that's what is definitely concerning.
yeah. This is kind of the opposite of what I think of the Commanders, right? I think that they have an adequate quarterback, maybe just below adequate that I'm not really fond of, though. I think we've seen the best Daniel Jones can get. Saquon Barkley's not going to be there. I'm not a big fan of the pieces they brought in. Darren Waller, he's great when he plays, but that guy's injured more than not. He's like the Anthony Davis of the NFL. And then Jalen Hyatt, I think a lot of that success, I think he could be a good player, but you got to watch that Tennessee tax, right? With the Tennessee offense running that gimmicky kind of get open any way you can offense, is that going to translate? But where they have going is they do have the NFL head coach of the year, Brian Daboll. And
I love Debo.
I think he's a very, very good coach, opposite of what we just said about Riverboat Ron Rivera. So I got to keep him. They made the playoffs last year, and with him, I think there's always a
True.
possibility.
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. 100%. Well, that's the NFC East. Let's go ahead and go to your favorite division, the NFC South. And no, just kidding. We'll go the NFC North, your real favorite division here. Try to throw a curveball. So the NFC North, we'll go ahead and start. I'll save the best for last year. So we'll go ahead and start with the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah, I put them in playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm almost 100% concerned that they will lose it, that they will not get into the playoffs, but they made it last year. Kind of same thing with the Giants, right? They made it last year. They've got really, really good pieces. They might have one of the better players in the whole NFL in Justin Jefferson. So you got to keep them in the playoffs.
I agree. Playoffs for sure. I mean, obviously, I've never had a problem with Kirk Cousins. I'm really liking Kirk Cousins as a player and as a person through this quarterback thing with Netflix. But I don't think he's the guy that can lead this team to a Super Bowl. I mean, the talent they have on offense is ridiculous. And they've also moved off of Dalvin Cook. I mean, there's some things there that are going on that seem kind of strange. I'm not too sure about, but as much as I've enjoyed, I like Kirk Cousins. I don't think he's the quarterback enough to be able to to get to the Super Bowl. So got them in playoffs for sure. I think with the Vikings, I think it's more likely they make the playoffs than miss the playoffs. But I'm with you. If they miss the playoffs, I won't be like too concerned um, or too surprised because they had those weird one score games last year, like 11 games scored by one,
Yes.
like a lot of different. I mean, you look at that Bills game where like a miracle fumble had to happen on like the half-yard line. They scored a touchdown. There's a lot of different, a lot of different kind of miracle situations, living on a prayer situations, if you will, where that kind of had to
Yes.
happen to get to that season, and they get skunked by the Giants. So it's just it's tough to really have a lot of faith in them to get to the Super Bowl level, playoff level, for sure. The Detroit Lions.
I have them as playoffs.
Yep, let's do it, baby. I'm with you. I mean, they were fringe playoffs last year. Um, they won their last game. I forgot who they needed to lose, for that to kind of
Seattle.
happen. Seattle, was it Seattle? Oh yeah, Seattle. So they needed Seattle to lose, and they needed to win. Obviously, it didn't work out for them. That's why you got to control your own destiny. You can't, get to the point where you need somebody else to lose or win. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they were fringe playoffs last year, I got to put them in the playoff tier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think they are a little bit overhyped right now by the media, right? I don't think Dan Campbell's really the greatest coach, but his personality is outshining his coaching skills. So I think that's great. I think Ben Johnson's the real secret there. Yeah, offensive coordinator, and the fact that he stayed is phenomenal. I think he could have been a head coach anywhere he wanted to. So that's the reason I've got them. I'm really, I'm not that low in golf either. I think he's a heck of a quarterback. They got some good players. They're gonna have, maybe their best wide receiver suspended for another 6 games after he didn't play last year, so that's going to hurt him. But that defense still not looking great, but has a couple of cornerstone pieces, I believe, with Hutchinson, and then what's that? Rodriguez, the linebacker, looks pretty good. So I'm gonna trust them to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I was on the Lions hype train. End up, going into the off season for sure. I really want to get on it, but the way they drafted just kind of threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
But I'm back on it. I'm back on the Lions hype train, and I'm riding. I've got the Lion and Steeler hype train. I'm the conductor. I'm driving it. I'm driving it. The Chicago Bears.
The Bears. I have them as next year.
Yep, I'm with you. I think they are also getting like a lot of hype. Like all of a sudden Justin Fields is going to be able to take this huge leap, and now that they've got wide receivers for him and things like that. But I don't see him getting to a point where they're actually competing. Competing this year. But based on what they've done, I'll be curious to see to where next year I could see it for sure. Competing, because that division is honestly kind of wide open. This year, I still don't think it's here. I still think they're at least 1 year out.
Yes, I believe I agree with that, and I think Justin Fields is a heck of a quarterback. I think he might be the best quarterback in the NFC North, but I don't think his team is great. I don't think he's not that superstar quarterback yet.
And then here we go, Chase. The Green Bay, Wisconsin Cheeseheads.
So I put them at playoffs.
Surprised.
I went
Super
back
Bowl
and
with your
forth.
boy Love.
Oh no, not Super Bowl. I went back and forth next year in playoffs. There's a lot of ifs to get to the playoffs, but one thing is our defense is built to win now. I mean, you've got a lot of younger pieces. Quay Walker, you got he's kind of meme famous, crying in the locker room after he pushed off NFL exec or NFL trainer for no
Ref
reason.
or
Yeah,
trainer,
refs.
or ref
Yeah,
and a
yeah,
trainer.
both of them. Big games too, like not both Sunday night games. So really kind of dumb of him, but he was playing really really good before he did those two kind of dumb things in his career. Jaheir Alexander, I believe, is the best cornerback in the league. Kenny Clark is a very underrated D tackle. We have Rashawn Gary, who led the league in pressures until he tore his ACL week, I think it was 8 or something, coming back. And then we have, Aaron Jones, who I think is a top 5 running back in the league. The real thing is if Jordan Love is who he is even adequate, I think we can make it. Jordan Love's a bust, then it sets us back, maybe next year and maybe even 2 years. But I think Jordan Love's going to be just fine.
You know what? Surprisingly, I am with you on the playoffs. I think I don't think they're locked for the playoffs, but I think it's more likely they make the playoffs and they miss the playoffs, and for a
Yes.
couple reasons. One, I love the team outside of the quarterback. I love their team. Like you said about the defense, I have no question about the defense. I love the players they have on offense. I think Christian Watson finally broke out, and I think he's primed to have another great season. His second year, I think Aaron Rodgers didn't help him at all. And I think that attitude definitely cost them a shot at the playoffs because instead of taking time to work with them, build up that chemistry and stuff, Rodgers just wasn't having it. And so you know that's that's frustrating and it kind of sucks. I think for Christian Watson to be able to have the opportunity to work with the Hall of Famer like Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers, and it just kind of didn't work out. Just kind of the way Aaron Rodgers is, so unfortunate. But he finally turned it on there at the end, and so I expect big things from him this year. And so I think Jordan Love proved himself to be somewhat adequate. Like we saw him come in against the Eagles and do fine. But again, I'm not too big on the Eagles defense. Um, but he's shown flashes, but then he's also shown flashes of not being very good here. Like you look back when he played against the Chiefs and he wasn't very good. You look at that, he was okay. So obviously, we've never seen an actual kind of like in any type of extended period. We've just seen him in half a game or one game. We've never seen him in extended period. So I'm curious to see what it is. But I like Matt LaFleur. I think he'll be able to set them up for success to where they're at least competing for the place. Maybe even who knows? Like this, the division is wide open. It's more wide open than it's ever has been.
Yes.
I don't think any of those teams are locked to win that division. So it could come down to week 17 where they're fighting for the division lead there. So we'll see what happens there. But jury's still out on Love, but I have enough faith in that team to feel comfortable saying that they have a shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's something that kind of quiets me down as a Packer fan on Love is the fact that Aaron Rodgers, just I think a couple weeks ago had, during one of his pressers, he's talking and he mentioned how good Love is, and he's got no, Aaron Rodgers is not the type of guy to beat around a bush or prop up a guy, a team that he doesn't like. He called out Kirk Cousins for being overpaid when they first gave him that contract. So I think the fact that Aaron Rodgers actually thinks Jordan Love is going to be fine, I think is a good sign.
Yep. Yep. Cool. That wraps up the NFC North there. Let's go to the NFC South. And so we'll start with the Creamsicles, the Buccaneers.
I had them on Living on a Prayer.
Yep, me too. And we kind of talked about it when we were talking about their creamsicle trees. So if you're just watching this clip on YouTube, you obviously didn't hear that. So just basically my feelings on that is just it's hard for me to believe that they're going to be better this year without Tom Brady than they were last year with Tom Brady. And for me, that's kind of what breaks it down. They still have the same pieces, still great receivers, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, like still got great players and on defense as well. But the regression from Brady to Mayfield, I think, is just going to be too wide of a gap. I even like Baker Mayfield. I do love Mayfield, so I'm rooting for him. But I don't think they're anywhere close as of right now to being back in playoff contention.
Yeah, I think that defense that looks so elite against the Chiefs' second string line in that Super Bowl is the same people, but it's fallen apart, right? Levante David kind of lost a step. Devin White didn't turn out to be the superstar that we thought he was going to be. That defensive backs, Carlton Davis, I think is really good, but other than that, I don't think there's anyone back there worth a hoot. And then the coach, right? Todd Bowles has proved once already that he's not a good head coach. So then they can't turn around and give him another head coaching job. I like Todd Bowles as a person. I like he speaks out a bunch about the wokeness, and he had that clip about he doesn't want to be referred to as a black head coach. He's just a head coach. I think he's a great guy. I just don't think he's a great head coach. I think he's a great defensive coordinator as well.
Yeah.
But defensive, very rarely do I root for a defensive head coach and think that he's going to do good.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole thing, how he became a head coach was kind of super weird, but
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm with you. Living on a prayer. The Carolina Panthers.
I have them as next year.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't fight you too much. I put them in playoffs just because as of right now they're my pick to win the division, which is automatic, obviously playoffs. So it wouldn't shock me if they make the playoffs, but I'm not mad about going to next year, so I'd be fine coming down to you on that tier. I'm I don't know if there's a bigger guy into Bryce Young than I am. I really don't. I mean, I might even have all the Bama fans beat on that because I'm just ever since I saw him play. When was it? 3 years ago, his first game against Miami in college. I knew that dude was legit and he was going to be a superstar. And so I'm so happy he went number one overall to the Panthers. I think he's got a perfect setup with Frank Reich there. They've got talent at wide receiver position. Um, they just kind of picked and plugged and pulled from other teams during free agency to kind of fill those gaps, right? So Adam Thielen, Hayden Hurst, Miles Sanders, right? They just kind of pulled some of these other, veterans that have been around a while that are good, but no one, really elite or any great. So I wouldn't. The division is so poor that I think that's why I had them in the playoffs, me personally. But I wouldn't fight you too much on next year. It might take a year to get going and get more talent, get more picks and things like that. So I wouldn't fight you putting him in the next year.
Perfect. Yeah, I just think it's hard for a rookie quarterback to actually win their division. I don't even know the last time that happened. I mean, I couldn't even tell you. Thinking back, even all these good rookies, Burrow didn't win it rookie year, Herbert didn't, Tua didn't. Man, Pat wasn't a rookie.
That wasn't right.
Yeah, that's Josh Allen didn't win it his rookie year. Even with these good guys, they're not winning. Maybe, yeah, I don't even know. So
it's true.
that could be a first. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I do think that Bryce Young is really good. I like the superstar coaching tree that Frank Reich has brought in, but I just think they are. I think it was such a bad. They broke up with Matt Rule halfway through the season. They sold away all their good players. So
I mean, they were in playoff contention last year though. They almost won their division, so it's not too far out to say that they're actual playoff contenders. But I wouldn't fight you. I won't fight you. I'm good with putting them in the next year. The Saints. I think I know where you're going to put the Saints, but
I put them on Living on a Prayer.
Oh, I definitely thought you were going to put them in playoffs.
Nope. I think that defense. I'm a little harsh on them, but I think that defense is really, really bad. Besides Marshawn Lattimore, right? Cam Jordan's not the player that we knew him once was. Sheldon Rankins bad. They don't really have what's that? Davis, what's his name? Demario Davis, the middle linebacker that kind of popped up after he left the Chargers. He's not there anymore. I don't like Dennis Allen as a head coach. I believe Derek Carr is a really great guy, and I wish him well, but I don't think he's the answer. Kamara's failing. I think Chris Olave is like the only bright spot on that team, and I don't know if he can, put the team on his back being a wide receiver.
Yeah. Cool. I won't fight on that. I did next year, as well, just because trying to figure it out. But I'm down with putting on Living on a Prayer. I'm not high on the Saints at all. So I figured you were going to put them in playoffs, but I guess you probably put the Falcons in playoffs.
Falcons are my playoffs.
You got the Falcons in the playoffs.
I do, and that's the same reason you had the Panthers. I think they win their division.
That's it. So we have to have one. We either have to have the Panthers or the Falcons in the playoff trade. Then we can't have them both the next year. So, I'll let you have this one.
Okay. I'll take it.
I'm obviously high on the Panthers. You're high on the Falcons.
Yes, where you're on that Steelers hype train. I am directing and hand pushing. Even I'm on Falcons Twitter for some reason because I liked a couple tweets, and I might be the only one that thinks they're going to win their division. Like Falcons Twitter's not really high on them either, which is crazy. Yeah. But I think that offense is going to go nuts next year with Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. I think Desmond Ridder showed improvement. I'm not really high on Desmond Ridder, but I think he showed improvement every game he played last year. I bet it was only like 4 or 5. But I really like Arthur Smith, and I think they brought in enough defense to stay in games, especially just in their division. Calais Campbell, they brought in another left end who I can't remember. They brought in Jesse Bates to eliminate. They were getting beat down really deep. Remember, P.J. Walker threw that 89-yard Hail Mary on him. It's because none of their safeties knew where they were. Jesse Bates not letting that happen anymore. A.J. Terrell I think is still really good. So I'm there with the Falcons.
There with the Falcons. I'll let you have this. I'll let you have this one. But yeah, I would put them definitely on next year. But I'll let you have the win. Make you feel good about yourself tonight.
Okay, I like it.
All right, let's wrap it up with the NFC West. Let's talk Arizona Cardinals.
Living on a prayer.
Yeah. Even though I saw today, was it today or yesterday? I don't remember. But Kyler Murray kind of working out. He threw some pads on and was kind of playing around. I guess he's looking like he might. I guess he's might trying to come back and be ready for Week 1.
No.
I'm not. I'm not really for sure what that's about. But even if he like obviously I'm thinking they're going to have the first pick in the draft because I'm anticipating he's not going to be there. So if he
Yes.
is there, they might not have the first pick. They might be able to win some games because I do think he is a difference maker. But even
I
with
do too.
Kyler, I don't think that they'll be anywhere close to playoffs with what they have. I'm not big on their new head coach either. Um, it's hard to have a defensive coach in this league and be successful. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. And then same thing at easily the Rams. We've talked about that ad nauseum. They're floundering right now. They just don't know. They just don't know what to do.
No.
To me, they might as well have an XFL team. To be honest.
Yes, they're running it like that. This is the worst I've seen a Super Bowl fall from grace.
Like,
it's just embarrassing.
It's just bad. It's just bad. Seahawks.
I have them as playoffs.
Yep. I think that's more than fair. I mean, they showed us last year that they have the ability to play and make the playoffs, and we'll see if Geno is going to be able to kind of build off of what he did last season. I have faith in him. I don't think he's anyone's writing back quite yet. And I love what they did in the draft. I freaking love what they did in the draft.
Me too.
So just add upon that. So see him rocking and rolling with Jackson Smith-Njigba. Oh, so freaking pumped to watch him play on Sundays. I mean, that dude's gonna freaking tear it up. So I'm excited to watch the Seahawks this year for sure.
Yes, I am too.
And then we've got the San Francisco 49ers.
Yep, and I think they are Super Bowl.
Yep, I agree. I mean, I don't no doubt about it. I mean, they've been there. They've been in
3 years ago.
So they went in 3 years ago, but they've been in the championship game pretty much almost every year.
Yeah.
Minus the one that the Bills or not the Bills, the Bucks went to. Obviously that was Bucks and Packers, but they've been in there. They're consistently good. They get rid of defensive coordinators, but they replace the defensive coordinators, so the defense is already on fire. Best defense in the league. I mean, that's not going anywhere, regardless of who the coordinator is. And so, that's going to be like who's going to be quarterback. Is Purdy going to be ready to go out Week 1? Do they have to go with Darnold or Lance? But I think in that system, I think they have good enough quarterbacks where they'll be able to be successful and win that division, and even compete to having the 1 seed in the NFC. They lost a couple stupid. They should have had the ones. Well, no, I mean Eagles only lost 2 games. I have it right here actually, so I guess I can look here. They lost 3 games. 2 of those obviously was with Gardner Minshew towards the end of the season. But San Francisco only lost 4 games, but they lost 3 of those early on in the season. They went on like a 10-game win streak.
Yeah, they lost to the Bears.
So they lost to the Bears. They lost to the Broncos. I mean, they had some stupid losses, just stupid losses. But that's what happens at the beginning of the season. You have the stupid losses, like the Chiefs losing to the Colts, like stupid loss. You have the stupid losses at the beginning of the season, so you can turn on towards the end of the season. That's what it's. That's honestly what the NFL is all about. It's getting hot towards the end of the season. As long as you're hot towards the end of the season, then you're going to be just fine. So the 49ers obviously did that and dominated. So I think they're back there in contention as well. So, so the tiers then for the NFC, we've got the Eagles, 49ers as Super Bowl contenders, Cowboys, Giants, Vikings, Lions, Packers, Falcons, Seahawks as playoffs, Bears, Panthers as next year, and Living On A Prayer as the Commanders, Bucks, Saints, Cardinals, and Rams.